existence, contemplating the process of entry. Entry means how we got entrapped into cycle existence through the truth of origin, that means karma and negative emotions. Becoming convinced that the truth of suffering is the defect of cycle existence. Becoming convinced, that means you need to make sure through repeated reflection. This has two parts. The reason for explaining the truth of suffering as the first of the four truths, the actual meditation on the truth of suffering. The reason for explaining the truth of suffering as the first of the four truths, if we are not able to develop a genuine desire to be free from cycle existence, we are cut from the very root. The very foundation is then lost. How can we then be led towards liberation? Not possible. As it has been said that worldly pleasures are suffering, various kinds of sufferings are taught to cultivate renunciation. Therefore, the truth of suffering is taught first. Having learned this and seeing that we have fallen into the ocean of suffering and desire to be free of it, we will see the need to overcome suffering. Having understood that without eliminating the causes, there can be no reversal of suffering, the truth of the origin is taught next regarding the nature of these causes. Within this truth, we will realize that the suffering of cyclic existence arises from contaminated actions. But these contaminated actions also arise from negative emotions. That those actions are caused by ignorance, and that the self-grasping is the root of this ignorance. Seeing that the self-grasping can be countered, we vow to actualize the cessation of suffering. Therefore, the truth of cessation was taught next. With the resolve to actualize liberation, which is the cessation of suffering, we look for the path and follow it. Thus, the truth of the path is taught last. This way, the four truths are explained repeatedly in all the greater and smaller vehicles. These important points regarding the reversal of entry into cycle existence have all been encompassed by the one gone to bliss, Buddha, and as they are crucial in the attainment of liberation and are essential landmarks in the practice of Dharma, students should thus be taught in accordance with these stages. So this basically means, even in a very ordinary level, the happiness that we want comes from causes, the sufferings that we don't want come from causes. If you are truly don't want suffering, then you should look for the causes and try to, if possible, eliminate. If not possible, at least reduce and weaken the causes. So that depends upon whether you really want to remove suffering or not. You need to, therefore he is repeatedly saying, develop conviction. If you really want to fly back to your country, make sure your tickets are bought. It's almost something like that, you see. Right? Then, if you really want happiness, which you said you want, I have not forgotten that part. On the very first day we agreed that we all want long-lasting happiness. So if you really have that conviction to have the long-lasting happiness, then it is high time to sit down and look for the causes of the long-running happiness. Is it money? Is it your relatives and friends and other material facilities? Yes, they do give us, we need them, they do give us certain so-called facilities. I'm not sure what do we mean by facilities. Because one Tibetan teacher, he says, even though you use the name facility, but if that so-called facility, is becoming a factor to let your positive practices decline, then it is not a facility. It is an invitation extended to you by the evil forces. Very powerful. Because many of these seemingly good thing, amazing thing, attractive thing, If you don't be careful, there are invitations to go into the wrong direction. Invitations extended by evil forces. Come here, come here, come here, come here. It's so beautiful, so good. Come here, come here. You go there, get entrapped. So sometimes I may not be right. Sometimes I do think that whatever looks beautiful, they are normally very entrapping. Something that really looks like for example, some of the poisonous plants, they have very beautiful flowers. I may be wrong, right? I don't know, but all I'm saying is be careful with the appearances. We discussed this yesterday also. Appearances are deceptive. Appearances deceptive means you run after appearances when they look attractive, beautiful. Not when it is ugly or not inviting, not attractive. That's my point. Right? So you need to be little bit careful. That is not to say don't appreciate beautiful things, things like that. But be a little bit careful. Food also, those that are very tasty, very bad for your health. Isn't this not true? That's why everybody is going after sugar, tasty, sweet, chocolate, tasty, sweet. Right? Now they are counted among the junk food. Right? Junk food means those food, primarily packaged food, which has a lot of either sugar or salt. They are called junk food. And without salt, the food doesn't taste. So you go after tasty things. And that's why in meditation, very hot, spicy food are actually discouraged. If it dulls your senses. It dulls your senses. And then you can actually taste food without having the salt added. I experimented with it. In my own room, I don't use salt. Sugar also very less. So in the first 2-3 days without sugar, it doesn't taste that good. But gradually, no problem. For example, water has no sugar, no salt. It's really, water is the most tasty thing. Right? So therefore, whatever is delicious, beautiful, attractive, a little bit careful. That's my feeling, but up to you. The Buddha said, I've shown you the path to Nirvana. Nirvana is up to you. Buddha is the teacher, you have to act, like that. So the main point that I should speak here is, it says that those actions are caused by ignorance, and the self-grasping is the root of this ignorance. So here, what do you mean by ignorance? This you need to understand. What do you mean by ignorance?
Not seeing things as they really are.
Not seeing things as they really are, or instead of seeing things. There's two ways of saying. Seeing things as having inherent independent existence. Seeing things as having inherent independent existence. So now the important point here you need to know is, this ignorance is not just absence of knowledge. This ignorance is misconception of reality. This is more dangerous. If it is mere absence of knowledge, then it's almost like, the ignorance of a little child. Child may not have that knowledge, but that will not do much damage. But if it is misconception of reality, then the problem is, it is number one, misconception. Number two, you come up with some reason. It may not be the right reason, but you will defend it. That's why all this fighting between different religious traditions, one or the other is wrong, definitely wrong. But they'll come up with all kind of reasons. So it's very difficult to explain it to them. If it is mere lack of knowledge, then you explain, they will follow. Yeah, okay, I understood it. Right? So ignorance means not just lack of knowledge, but misconception of reality. Reality is that everything has interdependent existence. That is reality. But this misconception of reality or the ignorance sees things as having independent existence. So the only counterforce, antidote, by which you can remove this misconception of reality is by cultivating the right conception of reality. The wisdom that sees things as having no independent existence. I give you the example of how you can see the coil of rope not as a snake, by the light. When it becomes very clear, then you don't develop that fear that this is coil of rope, it is not a snake. So this is to say that much of our problem, much of our fear, much of our suffering arises because of misconception of reality. Misconception of reality in general, and especially misconception about oneself. Seeing oneself, one's own identity, as having inherent independent existence. And because of this thinking, you develop very strong grasping. And it is because of this narrow-minded grasping to oneself, you are always concerned about yourself. What will happen to me? If there's an earthquake, you start thinking, first of all, the roof will fall on my head. Of all these people here, the roof will fall on my head. If there's a rat squeaking and running in the room, you will think it will chop off my ear. If there's a lightning, you start thinking it will fall on my head. Right? So then you are not able to develop a realistic, right perspective. And that leads to problem, that leads to suffering. So therefore it is important to identify this enemy number one, which is ignorance. So a true practitioner is one who fights against these negative emotions and distance oneself from them, eliminate them. But the problem is you don't see them in a concrete way, and also you don't realize the very great destructiveness of these negative emotions, so you hardly make an effort. That's the bad part. The good part is, in order to destroy these negative emotions and ignorance, you don't need a ballistic missile. You don't need a nuclear bomb. Right? Just sitting, contemplating, reflecting, you can see who these robbers are, who these thieves are. And once you remove these negative emotions from within your mind, unlike the external human enemy, if you defeat that enemy today, he will go to some other place, seek more weapons, get more money, strengthen itself, come back to fight again. But once you remove these negative emotions from within your mind, they have no other place to go. They have no other place to go. So therefore Shantideva says, it is only because of your weak, faint attempt that they are still staying there. And therefore, if you read this book, Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara, he says, how come these negative emotions, they don't have legs? They don't have hands to use weapons. They have nothing. But they have enslaved you in such a way that you are unable to do anything against them. Because you lack the needed effort. It's only because of your having not able to make effort that they have enslaved you. So what you have to do now? What are you going to do? I gave you a slogan earlier. I think you forgot already. I give you a slogan, very nice slogan. Do you remember anybody? I give you a slogan.
Think globally, act
Huh?
Think globally, act locally.
Not that one. Here, not here, not here. Not here. Here in this case, when you fight against the negative emotions, what you need to say is, gone are the days. You remember the rest? What? Yes, gone are the days when you enslaved me. Now I know who you are. You stupid anger. You stupid ignorance.
Get angry at that.
Yes, be bold here in this case. Gone are the days you enslaved me, now I know who you are. You have no room, no place in my house. And you should actually say, get lost. Get lost. So Dharma practice means distancing yourself from negative emotions and making friendship with positive emotions. Because you realize the mistakes of having invited the wrong people and got a lot of problem and headache. And now you change your process of doing things. You invite love, compassion. So when you next time think about love, compassion, you should tell them, my dear friend, compassion, please come, have a nice cup of tea. I'm sorry I did not really recognize you. I did not ask about you. And I heard from many people, many teachers, many books that you are such a kind gentleman. Please come, if possible, spend some days with me. If possible, stay forever in my mind. So this is the invitation that you need to extend to love, to compassion, to patience, and all the positive emotions. And negative emotions of any type should say no. No means no. I try to practice compassion, but not towards you. Because all you do is harming others. You have no other business. In the case of sentient beings or human beings, when they harm others, it's not good, but still they have some purpose. But negative emotions, they have no purpose. Only harming others. So why should I entertain you? You made me ugly. I told you, when you get angry, you become ugly, right? You made me ugly. You made me greedy. You made me run hither and thither everywhere. You did not let me take rest. Honestly, this is happening when you have negative emotions, desire, attachment, then you have to go everywhere. Right? So you should say this, gone are the days. You remember that line, huh? Then another line that I would like you to remember is, whatever may come in my life, I will never make my mind unhappy. Can you do that? At least you should say that. Say that. This is your mantra. When you say that repeatedly, then gradually it will help you to maintain calmness of mind. Because all of our practices are targeted towards that. Whatever may come, I will never make my mind unhappy. Because when you become unhappy, then all negative emotions arise. When you are unhappy, then you fight. Then lose appetite, lose sleep. All wrong things happen, right? So that's the reason.
It was beautiful. Can you say again?
Huh?
It was so beautiful, this sentence.
Whatever may come.
Yeah.
In-
I just want to hear.
Whatever may come, I will never make my mind unhappy. This is truly from me. Think globally, act locally. Somebody said it. I have so many verses like that. They are so powerful, you know. Just one line. Just one line. Remember one line, it will really change you. Right? So that's why. All right. So therefore, proper understanding of the Four Noble Truths. We are just quickly, you know, galloping through. We don't have much time to explain everything in detail, but luckily there are so many books now in English, good books in English, especially the Great Stages of the Path. It's already available in English. So there you can read everything in detail, in more detail. Right? Now, actual meditation on the truth of suffering. Number one, contemplating the general suffering of cyclic existence. This has three parts. I already explained this in a way, but if you want to split it, then contemplating the sufferings at the time of the birth. Now, contemplating the 8 sufferings, contemplating the 6 sufferings, contemplating the 3 sufferings. Now, with regard to contemplating the 8 sufferings, first is contemplating the suffering at the time of birth. Think about the suffering that you experience at the time of the birth. As I mentioned earlier, when you are born crying, not laughing. That means there is suffering. Although today we say happy birthday, but the Buddha said, right? But the Buddha said suffering birthday. So this is not to say, don't celebrate, please celebrate, you know, in a different way. You got this precious human life, celebrate. But in a deeper level, suffering. Because I've seen not only after the birth, the first thing child does is crying, but also these small babies, I've seen them repeatedly yawning, you know. So to me, it's almost like saying that this world is so boring, you know. Huh?
Oxygen.
Huh? Oxygen, yeah. Yeah, oxygen, yeah. It's my oxygen. But that is also called yawning, right? Okay, so contemplating the suffering of aging. Now don't get discouraged by constantly hearing about suffering. Some people say this word is not very good. Instead they say unwholesome or something like that, or dissatisfaction, something like that. But then the thing is, you know, when you do this dharma practice, on the one hand, it's important to use words which is, what they say, palatable, understandable. On the other hand, you should not just give this teaching just to please the people, listeners. Because if the purpose is only to please the Buddha, then you talk about shopping, the latest mall, then the five-star hotel up there, down there, you know. Why should we talk about these things, you know? The reason that you need to talk about all these sufferings is that there is a possibility to get rid of these sufferings. And these sufferings are actually there, contemplating the suffering at the time of death, the time of birth. Okay, then second, contemplating the suffering of aging. One great teacher, he says, now here for example, you know, the suffering of aging makes our bodies bend like a bow. Our hair grows as white as the flowers of the hummingbird tree, and our foreheads become wrinkled like the grooves on a chopping board. I translated one small text, you know, of a dialogue between a very energetic young man and a very grown old man. So I'll show you this, and then, you know, I hope to publish it. It's not very long, but very, very powerful. So there was this grown old man, like any other old man, he's not so active now. So he was sitting in a garden resting. Then this very, active young man come half flying, looks at the old man. How come you look so ugly? You look different. He makes many remarks. And you're shaking your head like this. And when you become old, you're like this. And your noses are dripping. And when you sit down as if a heavy sack of, rice came down. So many provoking comments he make. Then this old man says, slow down, sit near me, I'll tell you. When I was young, I was much more active than you. I used to think I can catch the birds flying, ride on the wildest horse, and there is hardly any sport I did not participate. But then, now I'm getting old, you will also get old. So what I'm doing, he explains each of them. It's a very beautiful composition, short composition. So the point that I'm making is all these changes take place, which we normally don't want, right? But then this is one side. The other side is when you become old, you become a person of a lot of experiences, a lot of wisdoms, a lot of knowledges, right? So internally you are probably more developed than before. So think about those good qualities and use it and plan, for living long by doing the needed exercise or taking the right food. That's very, very important. So it's not saying your back's bend, your hair become there, and you're hopeless. You're not saying that. But there's a warning sign. And the warning sign is one Tibetan teacher, he says, the only thing good with aging is it comes so slowly and unnoticingly. If there is an onslaught of old age, for example, tonight you go to bed, next morning you get up, you have all the white hairs, all the wrinkles on the forehead, all the signs of an old age, you will die of shock. So the good thing is, it comes so unnoticingly, so slowly. But the bad thing is, it catches you because you don't pay any attention. And therefore the Buddhist teachings say, when does aging start? Aging starts not after you become 50, 60, 70. Aging starts at the second moment of your birth. So look at that. And it doesn't stop. Like any impermanent phenomenon, it keeps on changing. You will keep on moving, becoming older and older. And not necessarily with more and more wisdom, but so you need to take care of that part. Then contemplating the suffering of sickness. I don't need to explain this. There are so many different types of sicknesses there. For example, if you suffer from cancer, if you get sick of AIDS, so many diseases, especially many are, I can say, modern diseases. Modern diseases means when people have very strange ways of thinking, strange ways of behavior, strange food, then you get new kind of diseases. So these are also our creation. So we need to find out how can we stop this sickness in general, especially some of the modern sicknesses. Right? Then contemplating the suffering of death. At the time of the death, one must part from the pleasantries of wealth, friends and family. We discussed this earlier. Death is definite, time of death is indefinite. At the time of the death, the only thing that will be of benefit is spiritual practice, nothing else. You can't take anything. Can't take anything means can't take anything. So the difference is, when you are born, when you came into this world, at least you came with your body, right? Right? But when you go, can you take body with you? Why? Because there is a tight security check. Judging by the way you lived your life, people may be thinking, okay, you may be hiding something in your body. These days people are so good hiding things in their body. Many of them are caught at the airport, Some are smuggling gold, some are smuggling something else in the shoes or wherever, I don't know. Right? So therefore the Lord of Death also thinks this guy may be taking something with them. So leave your body behind. So you can't take anything. But again, the good thing is nobody can stop your mind. And nobody can stop all the good habits that you have formed on the mind. Nobody even knows what is there. There's no machine that can check your mind and the good habits that is there with the mind. That is a good thing. So that's why these spiritual practices are so important. You can have all these things. And they will be your constant guide. These positive things that you've done, which goes with your mind, that is your positive friend, that is your positive guide, that is your guru, that is your teacher. They will help you everywhere you go. Now to simplify this point, as I mentioned earlier, for example, during this last 5-6 days, you have been primarily doing good things, some meditation, some spiritual practice. So because of that, it is, I am sure, this is one point that you need to think. Did you feel that physically also you feel quite light and happy? Didn't you feel something like that? No, you need to take care of think about these things. Sometimes, for example, if you don't sleep properly, if you end up doing many negative, destructive things, then at the end of the day, or even in the night, you feel tired, unhappy, That will not happen when you engage in such practices. There's the difference. Now imagine if you are able to live like this for the rest of your life. As simple as that. So similarly, when you have this positive imprint on the mind, then in the next lives also, you will be happy. Because at the end of the day, unless you cultivate these positive qualities within you, nobody can help you in the true sense of the term. Nobody can. Even Buddha, he clearly said, I cannot help you unless you help yourself. Right? And helping yourself is helping others. Helping others is helping yourself. It's a very interesting fact. When we help others, don't think you are doing some sacrifice. It's good only for those people, not for you. It's good for you. And you can feel it. Help somebody and see the smile in the face. You feel happy. And when you help yourself, do something good, you feel, you feel the peace and happiness and harmony, and that also vibrates to other people. When you speak to them, when you meet them, right? So now the good thing with this good qualities, inner good qualities, is they will never become excess baggage. Nobody will charge you at the airport. The other things that you bring, more than 15 kilos, at the airport they'll tell you. When Buddha said don't accumulate this unnecessary excess baggage, nobody listened. Now at the airport, all these people working at the airport, they are sent by Buddha. This is a joke. So it really looks like, so at the airport, if you carry more than 15 kilo, then they say, Madam, sorry, excess baggage, you have to pay. How much? For 1 kilo, 2,000 rupees or something like that. But this positive inner qualities, knowledge, education that you have, is not excess baggage. And with this knowledge, with this experience, wherever you go, people will appreciate, people will respect, people will invite. You will get free accommodation, you will get free lunch. For example, in my case, I'm getting free lunch here. It is a half joke, but something like that. Something like that. Really, when you have the inner qualities, you see. Like he's always Dalai Lama with his qualities. He's a refugee. Everywhere he is respected. He is happy. Everybody is happy. This is a clear example. Okay. Then contemplating the suffering of meeting with unpleasantness. Next, contemplating the suffering of being separate from. So the reality is, those people that you love, that you want to meet, that you want to be with, they are not visible. Then you get suffering. I call my friend, he is not answering, he is not answering. And then those you don't want to see, don't want to meet, seems to be standing at the corner waiting for you. Right? So you get this suffering. Not able to live with those you like and always meeting with those that you don't like. Contemplating the suffering of not finding what we desire. See? The job that we try to get, we don't get it. The husband that we're looking for, not inside. Huh? Things like that. So things that we search, we don't get. Things we don't search, they are there. Contemplating, for example, negative emotions you don't want, they are available in plenty. Positive emotions that you want, it's not there, right? It's like that. Contemplating the 5 appropriate aggregates as suffering. So the reason is, you have all these sufferings because these 5 psychophysical aggregates that you have is a product of contaminated actions and afflictive emotions. That's why you get all these problems. If you're somebody who really doesn't care whether somebody comes or not, there's no problem. But ordinary people like us, we are not like that. You want somebody to be close with you, and then that person is not there, you feel unhappy. Somebody you don't want, they are there, you feel unhappy. But then there are those who don't care. If they come, okay. Not come, okay. Right? But that doesn't mean, right in the beginning, if you should sever all relationships like that. Then because you're mentally not trained, you might get problem. You need other people's help, things like that. Contemplating the 6 sufferings, the defect of uncertainty, that our parents and those we love in this life will become our enemies in other lives. In other lives, not only other lives, in this very life also. It's something that comes out in the newspaper all the time. There was a disagreement among the family members, and one of the family members kills the others. You see? The parents and those who love in this life will become our enemies in other lives, and the enemies of this life in future lives will be our beloved friends. So there is this story of story of somebody who died and born as a fish. Somebody died and born as a fish. Then somebody died and born as a dog. Somebody died, born as father, the husband and wife, things like that. So in the previous life, this fish was their son. Now in this life, the son was born as a fish, right? And the enemy died and born as their child, right? No, sorry. The father died and born as a fish. And mother died and born as, mother died and born as a dog. The enemy died and born as one's own child. So then in this life, they catches the fish, which is their father previously, and then cooks it and eats it. It's so delicious. And the mother, previous life's mother, was born as a dog, came nearby, hoping that she will get a piece of fish, then throws a stick or stone, drives her away. And then the enemy, which is now born as a child, puts on the lap and then pets him and gives all the love. So this is seen by somebody who is highly realized, and then he said, "This is the samsara." And he started laughing. This is samsara. But in our actual life, there's no certainty, no definiteness. And I am sure almost all of you have this experience of somebody who came very close to you and then later on was unhappy and, distanced himself and herself from you. And in many cases, even become source of problem, enemy, you see. So there's no certainty. So there's not much point chasing people, right? The defect of uncertainty. Then the defect of discontentment. Concerning worldly happiness, no matter how many possessions we may own, discontentment continues to increase. What is enough? We cannot say enough. Always want more, always want more, always want more. This is your Tibetan lesson, yeah? Means the king enjoys all the kingdom's riches, but always hungry. I should try to capture the other kingdom. The child of the beggar, just sitting in a desolate place, but he's always jumping around, laughing, smiling, kicking an empty tin, things like that. Seems quite happy. So this shows that there is no contentment unless we make an attempt. Due to this, we circle in cycle existence for a long time because of this grasping, attachment. Attachment is the main cause for being born in the cycle existence. And not even a portion of the suffering we must bear every time can be compensated by the meager enjoyments. If you compare the two, the suffering and the enjoyment that you get more suffering than the enjoyment. The defect of having, but this is samsara, there's nothing much you can do in one sense, unless you make a special attempt. I have seen with my own eye some families, the husband and wife fight almost every day. Still they're living together. Funny, it's really funny. Must be force of karma or whatever. Then the defect of having to repeatedly abandon bodies, and meaning that we have to die again, then born again, then die again. The defect of constantly migrating between lives. You are today born as a human being, then as a dog, whatever. The defect of constantly falling into lower realms. Because we mostly end up doing bad things, not good things, so you fall down, not go up. The defect of loneliness. In this very flesh and bone that came together with this body must fall and disintegrate. Then what need is to say about separation from our friends as well. So loneliness here means that at the end of the day you have to go alone whether you like it or not. But loneliness has become a disease in modern world. So you should make a distinction between loneliness and solitude. In the Buddhist practice, you are encouraged to do your practice in solitude, where there is less disturbance. So remaining solitude, remaining physically isolated in the top of the mountain is people who do practice and isolate themselves and stay in the mountain, not necessarily feel loneliness. Unfortunately, many people who suffer from loneliness are people who live amidst several millions of people. So it's not the physical distance, it is the mental level. Because those who meditate, they sit high up in the mountain, they are alone, but mentally they are thinking about goodness of all beings, praying for them. They are there. Whereas those people who live amidst millions of people in big cities, they are only focused upon oneself, not about others. And because of this selfishness, Nobody comes to them, and then they feel lonely. You see, lonely. And then, unfortunately, today in the West, I'm not criticizing, but I'm telling you what I observed. In the name of privacy. On the one hand, privacy is important for everybody. On the other hand, if you make it a big issue, then at the end of the day, you will not only feel lonely, but you will have nobody look after you when you die. There are many stories of people who died quietly and the neighbors don't know. This is almost like recurring phenomenon these days in the so-called developed countries. Neighbors have no idea. They are not in talking terms. Neighbors means not one house, they are not around. Actually next door. There's only a door in between them. I've seen some of this myself. Right? The six can be combined into three. The cycle existence is unreliable. One will never be satisfied the pleasures of cycle existence. We have been cycling in samsara since beginningless time. Now with this cycle existence unreliable, we cannot rely on the acquisition of a body, for we must repeatedly leave our bodies. We cannot rely on... Now that does not mean that you commit suicide. Okay. That means unless you use this body, it is not much meaning. So if you use this body properly, then you have found a very precious human life, based on which you can become enlightened, based on which you can help countless beings. We cannot rely on being helped or harmed, for there is no certainty. Yes, you want people to help you, you don't want people to harm you, but there is no certainty. Things change. We cannot rely on the acquisition of good things, for we fall from high states to low states. Today you may be very rich, tomorrow you may become a beggar. These days, in the name of investment, if you do the wrong investment, within a night you become beggar. Then you have seen so-called famous president, prime minister, ending up in the jail, falling from high to the low because of wrong ways of life. How many presidents and prime ministers ended up in jail? We can count in our time, right? We cannot rely on friends, for we will end up alone. Because in the end, even if you have good friends, but in the end you have to go alone. That's what he's saying. For example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, when I'm alive, everybody says the Dalai Lama, then many people come to see me, then I have security guards around me. And then he jokingly makes a remark by saying, even when I am alive, if there's a real threat to my life, how many of these security people are ready to sacrifice? It's not so sure. But that's not the main point. The main point is, when one dies, the security is around you, or whatever is there around you, nobody can help. Number one, most of the people, they are friends of money, they are friends of name and power. When you need, they are not there. That's for sure. Even in the case of those really, really reliable friends and relatives, when you die, there's nothing they can do. Okay? The only thing they can do is cry and yell, which is of no use at all. Right? Right? So therefore, the spiritual practice is your constant friend. Constant friend. If you know how to visualize, then when you go, you are not going alone. You are going with all these celestial deities, the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, Avalokiteshvara, Manjushri, all these deities. They are your entourage members. They go with you. Right? So you are not alone. Provided if you know how to do those visualizations. One will never be satisfied the pleasures of cycle existence. We have been cycling in samsara since beginningless time. We are perpetually engaged in transmigration, for the end of continuation of birth is inconceivable. Contemplating the three sufferings which I already explained, suffering of change, suffering of suffering, conditioned, pervasive conditioned suffering. Contemplating the sufferings of individual types of beings. Sufferings of animals, hungry ghosts, things like that. Oh, there's no need to go into detail. Even if you think about the sufferings of animals that live with us, you should see what kind of sufferings they have. Right? Contemplating the process of entry into cyclic existence through the truth of the origin. Now this is more important for us. There are three aspects to this. How mental afflictions arise. This has four parts. Recognizing the afflictions. Recognizing the afflictions means the general definition. We have been talking about afflictive emotion. So the general definition of affliction is anything that greatly disturbs the mental continuum when it arises, that is called afflictive emotion. For example, when you get angry, then it disturbs your mind. When you develop strong attachment, it may be less noticeable, but it disturbs your mind. So any emotion, anything that which when arises in your mind, it perturbs you, disturbs you, and makes you uncomfortable, that is negative emotion. So you should be careful. So then he lists some of this. The definition of the 10 individual afflictions are as follows. Now with the order, there are different texts explaining in different ways. But here he first explains attachment. Attachment is the desire that develops upon seeing an external or internal object as attractive. When we are deeply attached to an object, separating from it is as hard as trying to extract oil that has been absorbed by a cloth. I mentioned this earlier. You get obsessed with it. Anger is the wild state of mind that directs our dismay at the perceived cause of suffering, such as other beings, sufferings, weapons, thorns, and so forth, and wishes to harm them. So when you develop anger, you get angry by thinking, this person has harmed me in the past, this person is harming me now, this person will harm me in the future. This person has harmed my friend, my relatives, this person is harming my relatives now, this person will harm my friends in the future. This person has helped my enemy, helping my enemy may help my enemy in the future. So this 9 process of thinking, you develop anger and hatred. Arrogance. Arrogance is the haughtiness that we develop in dependence on the view of transitory collection. A view of transitory collection means this psychophysical aggregate collection. This psychophysical aggregate is termed as collection, aggregate, collection. This is transitory, means this is impermanent, right? Although this psychophysical collection or aggregate is transitory, impermanent, but we don't see it in that way. You get arrogant, especially if you are good physical form, then you get arrogant. And you don't like to go with people who are not very good looking, right? You get very arrogant, observing towards one's body. Most of people have that kind of arrogance. Having perceived external or internal concepts of high and low, good and bad, it is to have a sense of superiority. As I mentioned earlier, everybody, whoever they are, whoever helpless they are, still deep down in their mind, they think, I am the most important one. I have something big to say. Others should listen to me. I am the center of the universe. Arrogance. Ignorance is having an afflicted and confused mind that does not know the Four Noble Truths, karma and the three jewels. But basically, ignorance is seeing things as having inherent independent existence, right? So this explanation is more in accordance when it says ignorance of the Four Noble Truths, karma. This is more in harmony with the explanation found in the Theravada system, Abhidharma system. Doubt is confusion as to whether the Four Noble Truths are true or not, and whether karma and three jewels exist. No, doubt is not any kind of doubt. Generally speaking, if you follow Buddhism, it is encouraged to be skeptical, ask questions. So we are not asking that kind of Doubt. It's important to have doubt, because if you have no doubt, you will not ask question. If you don't ask question, you will not get answer. So therefore, doubt is important. Therefore, you must be skeptical in the beginning. But now here, when we say doubt, or in general, there are three types of doubt. Doubt tending towards what is not fact. Doubt tending towards what is not fact. Then doubt, equilibrium doubt. And then doubt tending towards fact. That means in the beginning, you develop this doubt. Maybe there is Four Noble Truth. Maybe there is no Four Noble Truth. I think there is no Four Noble Truth. It is tending towards what is not fact. It is on the wrong side. So that kind of doubt should be avoided. And then if you undergo repeated thinking, then you are not sure. You develop this equilibrium doubt. Maybe, maybe not. You are not so sure. Then if you further investigate and ask question, then you will develop doubt tending towards fact. And after that you make a correct assumption. Right? So this is the way how you, in a sequential way, how you move from a wrong mental consciousness to the right valid consciousness. Okay? The view of transitory collection, I already mentioned this. The view of transitory collection is the afflicted intelligence that causes us to think of ourselves and our possessions as me and mine due to perceiving the aggregates with the mind of enjoyment. Now this one, the view of transitory collection, and the one, the D, ignorance, having an afflicted and confused mind that does not know the Four. These two are normally, sometimes you explain it separately, sometimes this is treated as one. The view of transitory collection is also ignorance. It's towards your psychophysical aggregate. So that's also ignorance. So this is like the example that I gave earlier. The coil of rope, the coil, seeing the coil of rope as a snake, right? So first you are not being able to see coil of rope as a coil of rope, but seeing it snake, and then you see it on the basis of that formation of the coil of the rope. So therefore you develop this ignorance in relation to your view of transitory collection. The view of grasping at extremes is the afflicted intelligence that due to perceiving the I grasped by the view of transitory collection causes us to develop the eternalist view of permanence or the annihilationist view that there is no such thing as future. So this means when you develop this view of transitory collection about oneself, then when you ask question, then you will end up in two ways. One, you will say, okay, this I has permanent existence. Or you will fall into nihilism, saying that if I search, I don't find, so therefore there is no such I. So that's the meaning. H, holding the extreme view as supreme, is the afflictive intelligence that, having perceived the constitution of the reason view, grasps at its superiority due to dependence of any of the three, the view of transitory collection, the eternalist view, or the wrong view. Yeah, so you develop a wrong view, and although it is a wrong view, but you think this is the right view, and then you hold on to this extreme view of seeing oneself as supreme, as special. Holding ethics and conduct as supreme is having an afflictive intelligence that affirms ethics that determines. So this holding ethics and conduct as supreme means you may be holding a wrong conduct, wrong behavior, but because of misconception you tend to see it as right. This is also very dangerous. Sometimes we may be following a particular philosophy, particular religion, which may be wrong, but because that is all you know, you think this is supreme, and you definitely go in the wrong way then, right? That's why I said that once you develop this wrong view with some reasoning, it's difficult to remove it. Intellectual misconception, or imagined misconception as we call it. The wrong view, the last one is the wrong view. Wrong view is having an afflicted intelligence that denies the existence of past and future. So it's a wrong view. There's no past life. Who has seen it? There's no future life. Who has seen it? Huh? Karma. What do you mean by karma? I've seen people doing, all the bad things and becoming rich. So what are you talking about karma? And the Chinese communists are saying things like that. They torture Tibetans and then say, okay, you believe in God and so many protector deities, call them. Call them, where are they? Huh?
They have the wrong view.
Yes, wrong view, absolutely. But ordinary people not being able to understand, they think, okay, it looks like it is, they are true. The stages of arisal of afflictions. Just as a coil of rope might be taken for a snake in the dark by one who does not know it to be a rope, the darkness of ignorance that obstructs us from clearly seeing the mode of existence of the aggregates gives rise to the false idea of self, which causes the rest of the afflictive emotions to arise. So ignorance towards phenomena in general, especially ignorance towards yourself, because of your grasping to yourself, seeing yourself as having inherent existence, then you develop the rest of the negative emotions. Because of this, in one of the Buddhist epistemological texts, it says, because of this confirmation that there is me, I, from there arises the others. And towards others, you develop either attachment or anger and hatred. So primarily because of this affirmation of the self, especially seeing it as having inherent existence. Causes of the arisal of the afflictive emotion. There are many causes. Number one, basis. Basis means you develop these negative emotions because it is there in your mind in a dormant state, because you have been habituated with it. Then second, object, perceiving objects concordant with the arising of afflictive emotions. So therefore, for a meditator, it is encouraged to restrain your senses. Otherwise, you are an ordinary person, you see different things, and then by this, it produces afflictive emotions. If you see somebody that you don't like, you develop anger and hatred. If you see something that you like, you develop attachment. Gathering means the surrounding friends. Following unholy, bad friends. If you follow unholy, people who pretend to be holy but not holy, and then bad friends will take you to the wrong direction. Bad friends will not appear with black faces, bearing fangs, red eyes, and wearing horrifying black cloth. They'll not come like that. They'll come as a genuine friend, and they'll tell you, they'll say, please come, let us enjoy life. Let us go to the nightclub, whatever. Nightclub not necessarily bad, but if I don't, define it, they might think, okay, he has no idea, Right? So in that way, through sweet talking, they'll take you in the wrong direction. Then they'll say, oh, don't worry, I have the money, everything, They take care of everything. So nice, huh? Then explanation, listening to false teachings. Now this is difficult. To whom you should listen, to whom you should not listen. Because,
Research.
Research. Research, yes, research. Do some research. But most of us have no time to do research. So what is important is you should, if you want to listen to everybody, but don't immediately trust everybody. Take time. And this problem happened at the time of the Buddha. When Buddha was alive, one day a group of villagers came to him and he said, we are confused. Then the Buddha said, how? He said, in our village, many teachers come. One teacher comes, gives a teaching and says, this is the right teaching, this is the shortcut teaching, this is the most wonderful teaching. Then after a while, another teacher comes and gives a different teaching. And sometimes it's opposite of what They've heard before. And then they'll say, this is the best teaching. This is the shortcut teaching. So we are confused. What should we do? Then the Buddha said, there's no problem. You listen to them, but you should use your brain. Use your brain. Which one really? Don't give space to blind faith. Use your brain. So that's the most important thing, right? So it's difficult to remain open-minded, because we all belong to one or the other culture, one or the other religion. So right from the beginning, we are already a little bit contaminated. So it's difficult to be open-minded. But as much as possible, try to maintain impartiality, develop unbiased state of mind. Because if your mind is partial, if your mind is biased, if your mind is lopsided, this very famous teacher, Indian teacher, Shantarakshita, in his great book called Ornament of Madhyamika, that text, he says, when your mind is lopsided, if your mind is lopsided, you will never experience peace. So don't be partisan, right? Habituation, the increasing power of familiarized afflictions. Today you easily develop afflictive emotions, not the positive emotions, because you are habituated with these things for a long time. That's what I said other day. So doing meditation means now instead of letting yourself continuously get habituated with negative emotions, get habituated with positive emotions. Attention, fabricating the characteristics of wholesomeness and unwholesomeness, misapprehension of that which is impermanent is permanent, so forth. So it's attention means, you have this tendency to see things in the way you want to see, not as it is. So you have this tendency to either exaggerate or denigrate, right? Seeing impermanent as permanent, what is selfless as self, things like that. The faults of the afflictions. It's important to know the faults of the affliction, because many people might think this is the way it is. As I mentioned earlier, people, science and others say that all emotions are emotions, they are all necessary. So here is saying, what are the faults of afflictions? The afflictions bring harm to both ourselves and others. They generate wrong deeds in both the present and future lives. They cause the experience of suffering and displeasure, spread defamation in all directions, and bring about reproach from our teachers, guardians, and other holy beings. They cause us to die a regretful death, leading to a lower rebirth, and prevent us from attaining our purpose. So it is basically saying what we need is happiness, and afflictive emotions destroy happiness. What we want is respect. Afflictive emotions will stop that, hinder that. Name, fame, whatever you want. We want what we do and what we want, they don't match. So therefore we get problem. How this leads to the accumulation of karma. Recognizing the karma we accumulate. Recognizing karma as this has two parts. Intentional karma. This is the mental action that moves and incites the associated mental factors towards the object. So karma means the intentional, thinking. I want to do this, do that. Determined karma. This is the action motivated by intentional karma and performed through the body and speech. Generally, actions are virtuous, non-virtuous, or ethically neutral. Non-virtuous actions are those that are unmeritorious, while contaminated virtuous actions are either meritorious or unwavering actions. Meritorious virtuous actions are those performed within the desire realm, and unwavering actions are contaminated virtuous actions performed in the form and formless realm. So I think I explained this a little bit earlier, all of this. How karma is accumulated, not done. If you tremble on insect without having the motivation to tremble, then this is karma accumulated but not done. If you intentionally kill somebody, it is done, it is accumulated, so that is more, sinful. Okay, also some questions? Yeah.
If you unintentionally kill, like a bug, for example, if you try to save a bug, and you unintentionally killed it, and actually follow up in that, if by accident you injured this bug like almost to death, should you kill it to take it out of its misery, or should you just let it die?
Let it continue with his life. This is similar like the mercy killing that we spoke earlier.
You sure it will die? It's just suffering.
Yeah, you are also going to die for sure. Shall I kill you? Right, huh? Shall I kill you? There's a story of, in Tibet. In Tibet, there is a story of a monk who visited, home where there was an elderly mother was there. So mother, in Tibet, ancient times Tibet people have not much sanitation, and so they have a lot of lice, So she caught one lice and then asked this monk, please throw it and put in a place where it will not die. Then the monk said, if that is possible, please throw me in the place where I will not die. So there is no such place where you will not die, whether you're hurt or not hurt. Right? So I think better leave it there. Yeah.
So, but just about the karma. So
Because the point that I'm making is, even with compassion of motivation, thinking that he certainly is going to die, but he may not have to suffer more if I kill it. That insect, strictly according to law of karma, that the suffering that the insect has to experience will be experienced. If not, today, later on. Today you help and lessen it, that doesn't mean that you can purify his karma.
what's heavier, the intention of wanting to save the bug, or the killing it like by accident?
What?
So it's everything that happened to me here in Kushida. So I tried to save the bug.
Yeah. Here you are. Yeah, try to save, that's good. Then? No, but with good motivation, it's always better. With good motivation. There's a story of, one person going around the circumambulation. He saw one of these miniature of Buddha made from clay. So it's there, and there's no cover there. It's made of clay. So it's raining. So he thought, oh, this clay of the Buddha will now be destroyed by the rain. So then he looked around, there's nothing. Then he found a torn out shoes. He put the shoes on it. Normally, of course, you should not put shoes, it's dirty, right? But just to save that, he put it. Then a second person came, he saw this. Who this stupid fellow putting dirty shoes on the Buddha's image? He removed it. So it said both of them accumulated same positive karma because of motivation. Yeah.
So why do you pray for, like if you can influence the karma of this bug, for example, why do you pray for it?
Why do you pray for it?
What's the logic of like praying for something?
The logic is number one, at least you are doing your practice, which is good for you. And it's also possible there may be some karmic connection. If there is some karmic connection, then it will help. Because we have what we call as the individual karma and collective karma. If the result is due to collective karma, where you also participated, that person also participated, then your prayer may help. So that's why normally, when one of your family member dies, In the Tibetan tradition, what we do is, if a family member dies, then invite all the monks to, give them, offering, things like that, food, and then many days prayer, for that. But actually, that is also okay. But and then the family members themselves, they don't do any prayer or not much prayer. They will be busy cooking, things like that, So normally it is said, if one of your very dear, close family member dies, you should do the prayer. Because you have closer karmic connection. Right? So that is what is said. Yeah.
When someone dies, is there a time period for them to...
Is there?
Is there a time period for rebirth? Is it like 40 days or...
49 days, yeah. We say 49 days in the intermediate state. 49 days doesn't mean that he or she has to remain in the 49 days. That's the longest period. One may take rebirth after 7 weeks. In the text it is mentioned that, in the intermediate state you die a small death after every week. Right? And so after 1 week you may die and take the next rebirth, or maybe in the second week, in the third week, but maximum is 49 days. So some people have asked me this question, why 49 days? Why 49 days? I thought this is a very clever question. I had no answer. Nowadays, if somebody asks me this question, I have the answer. The answer is, don't only think about the intermediate state. In your case also, maximum 100 days, 100 years. Why? Maximum 100 years, right? In our case. Why? Why can't you live 2000? 5000? Why? It is the way it is. It's the law of nature, you see. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder about burning karma. Some religion, they do ceremony burning karma.
Burning karma.
Burning, yeah. But
This is just a different usage of word. Burning basically means destroying.
yeah,
I mean, you don't actually use a fire to destroy karma, It basically means destroying the negative karma. Yeah.
and how you do that?
How you do that? By cultivating positive emotions, by developing wisdom, understanding emptiness. The antidotes, by developing the antidotes. Yeah. Yeah, there's one here. Yeah.
Geshe Lhakdor, if there is someone who is getting a lot of dreams
Mm.
habitually,
Mm.
is there any way to understand them, or one should just ignore them? Or what is Buddhism?
Buddhism says normally dreams are, as I mentioned earlier, dreams are greatest liars. So don't pay too much attention, generally speaking. But if you really want to analyze your dream, the dreams that you get around dawn, that can be analyzed. Because the dreams you get in the first part of night, immediately after sleeping, it may be heavily influenced by what you've been doing in the day. Then in the middle of night, it may be the result of your past, karma, whatever, many other things. So at around the dawn, then probably the mind is less affected by many other things. So there's a possibility of examining it. So therefore, when you receive Kala Chakra initiation, there is a period where occasion where the Lama, after giving that day's teaching, give you a kusha grass, kusha grass, and also and kusha grass, and then they will give you 2 kusha grass, one longer, one shorter. And then the Lama instructs you, put the longer grass under your mattress and the shorter grass under your pillow, and then sleep. Then the dream that you get around the dawn can be examined to some extent. Meaning that if you get a dream of visiting a garden, but the garden has only red flowers, it's not a very good dream. Then if you get a dream of going downhill, naked, going downhill, riding on a donkey or something like that, that's negative. If you get a dream of going uphill, it's a good dream. And if you get a dream of visiting a temple, but the temple lackluster, is not much radiance, it's a dusty, not good dream. Things like that. Don't ask why. Huh?
Is there any way to stop these dreams?
Stop.
Any dreams, any kind of dream, stop any practice or anything that you can do to
Stop.
not having so many dreams.
No, actually, there are processes of analyzing the dream. So in that process of analyzing, I'm sure, it's making a motivation. Just before sleep, you make a motivation. Okay, today I will examine my dream, and that has a lot of practice. Then it's possible. While you are dreaming, you know what is happening. If you don't like, you can stop it. Those practices are there, yes. But generally, if you get a dream, so what? Let it come, go.
But you wake up tired most of the times because of so much dreams.
Yeah, I used to get many dreams, mostly flying. Yeah. At one time, I got a dream of being chased by the Chinese army. This is because I had experienced that horror of actually seeing the Chinese army when I was a little child. It may be the imprint of that. So I got this dream of being chased by Chinese army, many of them with this army uniform with guns. So I had a very rudimentary country gun. The dream so interesting. Gun, which you can not shoot immediately. You can just put the
Like a musket.
musket, like a musket. Yeah. So I was bringing there. Then I was trying to cross at the foot of a mountain, and that the mountain has so many slits. When I walk, the slits are going down. I can hear the voice. Then at one point, I was hit by a gun, shot by the Chinese army. So it was very painful, very painful. And because of this fright and the pain, I woke up. When I woke up, you will laugh loudly. When I woke up, there was a small thing that was hurting here. so you get dream like that. So better you prepare your bed comfortable, So if you sleep on this, it's very likely you will get the dream. And sometimes in some places, when you're sleeping and the place is cold and you somehow move around, your blanket falls down, then you get a dream of being born in a cold hell. There is a beautiful text written by a Tibetan teacher, how to examine the dream. Great teacher called Longdol Lama Rinpoche, he has written a text, so I read those things there. Yes?
Does killing animals to eat them or to use them in some other way always generate negative karma? And
Yeah.
is there anything that you can do to alleviate?
Don't kill them. Don't kill them.
Geshe, as the course comes to an end, one of my key takeaways is that I need to read more books about Buddhism. What are your personal favorite 5 books?
Thank you asking this question.
Yeah.
I thought somebody will ask me this question. One book which I strongly recommend, which is not a Buddhist book, and I'm not necessarily that you're all looking for Buddhist book, but this is very much in tune with the basic Buddhist teachings. Read this book, Beyond Religion. Beyond Religion. This is by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And before that he has written another book. He has written many books, but the one related to this and published before this is called Ethics for the New Millennium. Have you read that book? What a pity. Ethics for the New Millennium. Ethics for the New Millennium.
They're also on Spotify, those books. They're on Spotify, you can listen to audiobooks.
Yeah, listen also, but if you can buy it in the market also. I strongly recommend, because as I mentioned, His Holiness is really very, very concerned about developing this morality ethics for everybody, believer, non-believer, everything. And these two books are written by him. And I had the great fortune of participating in all this project when he was writing these books. When he was writing this book, Beyond Religion, I was already in the library, but he asked me to come. So I sat with the group, so read this. And in fact, right now we are reading about emotions. There's a beautiful chapter on emotions here in this book also.
Geshe, is there anything directly from the Buddha itself?
Many.
Dhammapada.
Many.
Yeah, on Spotify.
Huh?
Spotify?
On Spotify from the Buddha.
What?
No, I was just making it up.
No, I don't remember the title. There's. Have you read Dharmapada?
I've read Dhammapada.
Not just the verses, but somebody wrote a commentary. I now forget the title. If I remember, I'll bring tomorrow.
Thank you.
Very good book. Very good book. Yeah. Desperate, yes.
The worst thing you can do is killing.
Worst thing, yeah, kind of, yeah. But in the 10 non-virtuous actions that we already studied, the worst is wrong view. The worst is wrong view.
So isn't it be the best thing to bring life?
Yeah. If you can't give life, you have no right to take life.
I'm saying it's good karma.
Yes, very good karma. If you help people, gain health, longevity of life, very good karma.
But not specifically giving the
Giving birth, as I mentioned yesterday, the same question was asked yesterday. That depends on your motivation. But if you produce a child and then make him Hitler, so produce a child and give really good education to be able to help many people, then it's good.
Geshe Lhakdor, it seems to me that Buddhist monks and Tibetan monks especially generally have a very good sense of humor and a cheerful disposition.
Yeah.
You yourself, I would say, seem quite a jolly fellow, and I would say that His Holiness the Dalai Lama also, seems very cheerful. Do you think there's a significant connection between this cheerfulness and sense of humor and things like wisdom, compassion, and kindness?
I mean, His Holiness obviously, based on his prolonged, sustained practice, love, compassion, is of course very special, very unique. Then in the other cases, not necessarily monks, the Tibetans have, generally speaking, more jovial, happy nature. In my case, when I first visited America, many years back, I was in a lobby, in a hotel. So around 6, 7 young people surrounded me and one of my Buddhist monk friend who very recently passed away. So we were again laughing, smiling, said, "Are you happy like this all the time? You keep on smiling like this all the time?" Then I said, "You better spend few days with me, then you will know." You see? Because you will really know the person properly. Either you do a difficult job together, or you participate in a very competitive, tough sport, then you will know who that person is. But otherwise, right now, nobody is bothering me. I'm happy. So I look happy. Right? But generally speaking, yes, I'm quite happy. This is nothing unique. I'm sure you are also quite happy. I saw you, everybody smiling, laughing. So that's why I say there is a hope, big hope. Because everywhere you go, every part of the world you go, majority of the ordinary people are nice people. Majority, I'm saying, they're good people. They care about how to look after their family, have a job, and that's it. The bad people are on the top. That's what I think, really, in many cases. They have the power, they can do things, but they don't do properly. They misuse it, for their political gain and aim. They say many things, dividing people. That's the problem. Majority people are very nice. Of course, that doesn't mean everybody. Some are embodiment of. Yes.
I have a question about the question from.
Huh?
I questioned back before. If you eat meat, is the karma different from killing an animal and then eating it, or just go to the grocery store? Because, for example, butchers then would have really bad karma, but they don't only kill animals for themselves; they also kill them for other people.
Yeah, in the text it says, if I order people to go to war and kill people, then those people who actually go in the battlefield and shoot and kill, then one who gives the order to kill, they accumulate same karma, same negative karma. Right? So therefore it is not just killing, it's also your motivation, your participation in many things. Yeah. Yes?
Sheila, my question is it possible to be born out of Earth? Does this law of nature apply only to Earth, or does it apply to the whole universe?
Possible to be?
Does it apply only to this Earth, the planet Earth, or does it apply to the whole universe?
Huh?
There are other planets that might have like sentient beings.
Acha, is this the only planet? No. There are hundreds and thousands of other, universes.
So it's possible to be born not of what we know, right? In terms of
Possible, yes.
and the same karma applies.
Yes, if you die, maybe you are born in China next time. Easier to understand, right? Rather than other universe. Possible, everything is possible. Because these days, when I watch some of these Star Treks, they come up with this very funny face, ear, double nose, whatever, So I start thinking, okay, they are already creating karma to be born like that in some other universe. Yeah.
Can we, the lower intelligent people, know what true happiness feels like, since we probably only experienced fleeting pleasure?
Yeah.
What am I striving for?
Yeah. You need to, whoever you are, you need to do a little bit thinking. Little bit thinking and little bit experiencing. For example, if you genuinely help, say, a poor person, and then observe the feeling that you get, and then compare it to the experience that you get by tasting a, sugary donut. You taste that sugary donut, you also get a peace or happiness or a little bit whatever. So compare these two.
Is there any brain studies done on serotonin, dopamine?
Yeah. In fact, because I'm bringing too many heavy books, so I didn't bring, but recently I got 2 new books written by some scientists, very famous books. One is called compassionomics. Compassionate economics, maybe compassionomics. Another is something really amazing book. They did a lot of research. Yeah.
So it is wired differently.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Why the Tibetan temples are always so full of objects, images, colors, and is not a distraction while you are like trying to focus on your mind, concentrating, and then seeing so many different things?
That's why there is a saying. The Tibetans practice hundreds of deities, don't actualize even one. The Indians practice one deity, actualize hundreds. But that's ancient, now I don't know. Ancient times. But generally speaking, there's a appreciation of the richness of the divinity, richness of inner qualities. So all these are reflected in painting. So unless you go and study the meaning of these paintings, it's for some people, you're right, it's a distraction. But those people who study the text, the meaning of all these images, who are they, what this one represents, so this will help you with the picture. It will help you develop some of these inner qualities and the meaning of it. Especially when you see in the tantric painting, you see a man, woman in union. Many people say this is sexology, right? Because they don't understand the meaning. If you really understand the meaning, then it symbolizes not just the man and woman in union, and not just encouraging sex, but it symbolizes two inner qualities, which when you activate, which when you cultivate, you can gain greater insight of the reality. So it's important to participate in it. But for you, I have a very good suggestion. Don't look at them, just go. because no, as I already mentioned, we just read it actually. We just read it. When you do the meditation, you need to restrain your senses. Restrain your senses means you need to do it. Not just this temple. When you go around in the temple and up and down, that the distractions and the color, especially in India. India is very famous with colors. So many varieties, colors of clothes and spices and fruits. So colorful, right? So if this is distracting for you, then you better not to let your mind go towards these things. Yeah.
Isn't it true about Tibetan culture that because Tibet itself is such a sere land with not a lot of color, not a lot of growth and stuff because of its geography, that the colorful and silk and beautiful things were sort of to do the most honoring thing you could?
No, I don't think so. One, probably the colors also came from India, because we got most of our Buddhist teachings and other traditions from India. So probably this has to do something with the Indian colors also, one. Number two, it is not true that Tibet is just, a rugged land. Like if you go to this Kham area, Kumbo area, full of forest, full of fruits, full of rivers. Tibet is, in terms of geographical size, Tibet is bigger than the whole Western Europe. With a small population of, now they say, normally we have been saying 6 million. Recently one of our Tibetan professor, when he was in Tibet, he did a lot of research. Now he says it is around 9 million. 9 million. Tibetans who speak Tibetan language, not Chinese. He was very particular. Tibetans who speak Tibetan language, around 8 million something, around 9 million. huge land with all the natural resources intact. Because Tibetans used to believe that these natural resources like water, forest, doesn't belong only to human beings. They belong to other spirits also. The spirit living in the water, living in the forest, living in the minerals. So today people might think Tibetans are stupid, but that is how we think. And because of that, everything was intact. And I don't know, more than several hundreds of minerals, including uranium and gold, are found. Now they are all excavated and taken to China. Chinese came not because they love Tibetans. They love the Tibetan natural resources. Huge. Now today, I was born in Tibet, and when I left Tibet, I was really very small, so I have not much idea. But today, when I look at the pictures, wow, the sea, the mountains, wow, kind of thing. Even I remember when I was a little child playing around, I used to go with other small children at the foot of a small mountain. There, all this, what they call is now, these different types of stones, amethyst, all those things. Semi-precious stones. Probably. Yellow color, red color, blue color, white color. We used to play. These are all found in abundance. And then my father used to tell me, not very far there is a gold mine, where you can see the gold there, nobody touches it. Gold as big as a horse or as big as a human being. That's the story, you won't believe. And when Tibet was free, water means drinkable. Wherever it is, water means drinkable. Today, even in a 5-star hotel, you ask people, can I drink? I asked this question in a 5-star hotel, can I drink from the tap? The person in charge said, maybe, not so sure. This is the situation. Now in Tibet also that is the situation, you see. Unfortunately. Yeah. Yes? Any other? Yeah?
I'm sorry, this is a bit out of context.
Yeah.
What do you think about tourists visiting Tibet, whereas people who are Tibetans are not able to go back?
Who is visiting Tibet?
If one has wished to as a tourist to visit Tibet, what would your opinion be on that?
Now because of economical reasons, very recently China is inviting as many tourists as they want. They want money. So we give you visa relaxation, please come. They are doing that. Now for the Tibetans, of course, we can't go back. If I want to go back, I need to go to the Chinese embassy and say, I am a Chinese citizen. I want to go back to my motherland. That, of course, unless you are in a desperate situation, will not do that. But others, you can go. But the problem is, you will be guided where to go, where not to go. You will be watched everywhere. Yeah. But still, if you can go, that's good. Yeah.
Concerning negative emotions, we were often talking about anger, and I think you mentioned it in the beginning that it's a specific case when it comes to depression and those negative emotions you have when you are in a depression, and I think many of us know someone who's been suffering of that. And I wanted to know, because I've also seen a book by Lama Geshe, I think, where the title is Become Your Own Therapist. So what is your advice for people who suffer from that? Or, signing up for the course, it was also said that this is not a therapy session or whatever, but not whatever, I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. But still, because it is about cultivating positive emotions
I don't know whether I got everything that you said, but if I shoot the arrow in the darkness, yeah, at the end of the day, you should be the one that should help yourself and heal yourself. Now here in this case, as I mentioned earlier, the first thing is right before, much before you enter into these problems of anger or depression, whatever, you should live your life in such a way that there is less likelihood of sinking into depression or becoming angry. That's the most important thing. Then later on, somehow, because of the environment, because of the people, and many other situations, somehow we are not Buddha, so sometimes we get depressed, we get angry. But then the good news is you don't get, at least in the initial stage, you don't get depressed all the time, you don't get depressed 24 hours, you don't remain angry 24 hours. So at the time when you are less depressed, not angry, then you should think, what was the state when I was angry? What was the state when I was depressed? Was it helpful or not helpful? Right? So in that way, then you should choose the right, course, not to let yourself get depressed or get angry. Because you get angry or depressed many times because of attachment, not getting what you want. Right? And sometimes it may be because of not getting enough sleep. Or sometimes you get angry because you're hungry. So there are many causes. So sometimes, you just need 5 minutes nap. Yeah, true. So there are different techniques. It's not just one technique, different techniques. And then always try to see the positive side and be cheerful. Don't focus too much on the shortcoming and the problem, That will then exacerbate the situation.
Besides the part that the I doesn't have inherent in existence, besides the part that the I doesn't have inherent in existence, how the Buddhists will reply to the question, who am I?
Who am I? I is just a designation. Just like this one. Is this a book? Is this a book? Yes, right? Just designation. If somebody right from the beginning called this not a book but as a glass, today we'll all call this glass. I'm reading from the glass. I'm drinking from the book. Now, because we already use that name, followed that name, so you don't like this book called as a glass. But right in the beginning, if somebody called this a glass, today there will be no problem calling it a glass. So it's just a designation. Now just a designation does not mean you designate and create everything. That is also not possible. The designation should not violate the conventional terms, the existing conventions. For example, now we call this a book. Now I want to violate this convention. I call it glass. I will not be able to achieve success because the agreed convention is so strong. So basically at the end of the day it's just designation. But this is important because just designation doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It exists. How does it exist? Depending on multiplicity of things. And not being satisfied with this multiplicity of things, if you really want to pinpoint, take this out, take this out, take this out, and they say, where is the I? You will not find anything. That's the reality. Right? Because to our ordinary uninformed mind, we tend to think that if anything exists, that should exist independently. We should be able to pinpoint it. But the reality is not like that. So you should be contented with that label, the name given. Right? Difficult, right? Difficult to understand, yeah. Yeah. Who?
In the moment, an afflictive.
Behind. Yeah.
I think it's me.
Yeah.
In the moment, an afflictive thoughts arises in the mind.
Yeah.
And after I'm aware of it, so I can observe it.
Yes.
What is the next I need to do? I just need to.
Next thing is you should say, this is not good.
But that's not rejecting the thought, because if I stay.
Yeah, rejecting the thought, it's good. You're not saying thought did not come, but it was not useful. So you said, okay, go, get lost.
And then I need to think about the positive thought like a compassive thought to contrarrest that.
Yeah.
Or
No, you change your subject. Think about something that is more constructive, more positive, then this will go away. For example, if I concentrate on the goog, then my mind will not thinking about the water. Right?
I just have one follow-up question on the I. Would it be correct to say that the continuity of the mind is the I?
More or less. It's a tricky question. For several thousands of years, people have kept on asking this question. Still that question is lingering. But to be more precise, yes, at the end of the day, it's the mind. But we don't call this mind as I, because I is designated on this continuity of the mind and the body. Yeah.
The second one was sadness. It doesn't seem like a positive emotion.
Yeah.
But then again, if someone dies or there's a catastrophe, and would a Buddhist practitioner not feel sadness at all in the eyes of something very tragic happening?
Sadness will be there. It depends upon how heavily you feel that sadness is dependent upon how strong was your attachment to that person. The stronger the attachment, the stronger will be sadness. The stronger will the love, less there will be sadness. That's the thing. And then to be honest, it's again worldly convention that sometimes you feel sad, sometimes even if you don't feel sad, you need to pretend that you feel sad because other people are watching, This is how we live our life, you see. So you need to do like other people are doing. But then at the end of the day, that feeling of sadness is of no use. So the teaching of the Buddha says, do those things which is useful. Don't do those things which is not useful. If somebody dies, you cry, you feel very, very sad. If it's very, very useful, go ahead. But maybe not very useful. Okay. Thank you. See you tomorrow.